It's Tax Tips Tuesday with me, Christine Walters, on April 11th. Today, I'm going to talk about the tale of two footballers. So the first footballer is Gordon. He moved himself and his family and their possessions to Southern California last year to play football for 3 months. Then he came back to Calgary to continue playing football here in Canada, and he bought a house in Calgary. The second footballer is Tyler. Last year, he had the opportunity to go and play football in Toronto. So the decision was made in their family for their given circumstances that he was going to move himself down east, but his family and all or most of their belongings were going to stay here in Calgary until their home here in Calgary sold. So according to CRA guidelines, moving expenses that are paid during the year can generally be claimed if you meet both of the following conditions. So you move to a new location to work, to start a business, or to enroll at university, college, or some other post-secondary institution. And your new commute to your new workplace or your new school has to be at least 40 kilometers closer than your old home is by the shortest public route. So hello, Google. Distance between A and B. So in Gordon's case, we will include the cost of either their flying, their airline tickets back and forth to California, or a flat per kilometer, or the cost of driving down to California and back. So remember, Gordon moved twice in the year. He moved once to California to play, and then he moved once back to Canada to play. So he qualifies for both moves because in both instances, he moved for employment purposes. So eligible moving expenses can include the cost of transporting your household items, including boats and trailers and other recreational things, and storing them while you're in transit if applicable. So U-Haul, movers, any of that sort of stuff qualifies in there. Actual moving expenses, including your vehicle expenses, meals, lodging. And here you can choose between a detailed or a simplified method when calculating the vehicle and the meal expenses. I often recommend to clients that they use the simplified method so they don't have to keep receipts for their meals or their gas or anything for the move. And that simplified method often works out just as good or better than the detailed method does. Excuse me. So also, if applicable, you are able to claim up to 15 days of temporary living expenses, such as meals and temporary lodging, so your Airbnb or hotels, near either your old and or your new homes. So if you spent a couple of days packing up here in Calgary, stayed at a hotel or an Airbnb down the street, and then same thing on the other end when you were unpacking, you can claim those expenses. You should be aware that for this type of claim, there is no simplified method or anything. You will likely be asked to show documents supporting how long you stayed in your temporary lodging. So make sure that you keep those receipts from the hotel or the Airbnb if you're going to make that type of claim. Moving expenses can also include the cost of canceling your old lease. If applicable, if you have to break a lease, make a payment to break your lease. As well, moving expenses can include incidentals such as legal documents, changing your address with financial institutions or government agencies, all of that, getting all of your documents updated. If there's a fee with any of that, you can include those costs. The cost of replacing your driver's license and other non-commercial vehicle permits, as well as out-of-province inspections on your vehicles and new registrations or plates. Incidentals can also include utility hookup or disconnection fees. So if you've got to pay $25 to have your utilities hooked up or disconnected, you can include those costs. And then finally, if you incur maintenance costs on your old home after you have moved, but while you're still making reasonable efforts to sell it, you can claim up to $5,000 for things like your mortgage interest, property taxes, insurance premiums, and heating and other utility expenses. So then in Tyler's case, because he sold and purchased a home, he can also claim the real estate commissions, the legal fees, and Ontario's land transfer taxes on the purchase of their new home. So moving expenses for work and or school, when you move for work and or school, can be tricky to calculate and to claim properly to maximize your claim and to minimize your chance of audit and chance of being denied on an audit. CRA does really like to come after moving expenses, especially if you're claiming real estate commissions and Ontario land transfer tax, because those numbers add up very, very quickly. So to help you save as much tax as possible, I always recommend that you speak with a professional, tax professional who can provide you with personalized advice for your situation and guidance for any life events, such as the moves that these two footballers had last year. So I hope you enjoyed this week's Tax Tips Tuesday with me, Christine. Come back next week for another tip, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week.